Alright, YouTube. Now, this series, this week right here, is basically going to tackle problems that I think that we as Americans can handle ourselves. Because if you live your life always trying to tackle problems that you really can't solve, you feel like you're not accomplishing anything. So, I talked about cars yesterday, and just to get an overview of that, we know that cars are a bad investment. We know this. We know that a lot of times when we buy the cars, it's an emotional buy. We're trying to impress others. You may look good in that car, so what? Do you need someone to validate that you look good in order to feel good about yourself? So we need to go back and check those thoughts, okay? So the car situation is gone. Now let me talk about another area where I think that we as Americans, we're messing up. And this is the house. Now, I want to say something real quick. There's a word that needs to change in American culture. Not a word, but a sentence. Is that getting a house is the American dream. Okay? That is true. But I think a couple more words should be added to that. And I would say getting a house is an American dream, right? But there are other steps that need to take place before you purchase that house. Like there's one thing that I think we've gotten away from, because we got all these different ways of financing, creative ways of financing, whatever, is this zero down deal. Guys, anything with zero down on basically translates to you're going to be paying for a long time. Right? And strictly, zero down deal is totally an emotional buy. Totally. What you're saying is basically to yourself is, I don't have the money to put down, but I want that product. I want that house. I want that car. I want that computer, or whatever. That's the 10-year-old coming out of you. Okay? This is my advice. Do not get a house unless these steps have taken place. One, at least do not get a house until you're debt-free. Somebody say, what do you mean debt-free? Debt-free. Handle one debt before you go take on another debt. Because the house is probably one of the most biggest debts you're going to have in your life. Okay? So it doesn't make sense to be in a house and struggling with that mortgage and then struggling with your other bills. Focus on one thing at a time. So I would say pay off your debt completely. The second thing I would say also is to make sure you have at least 6 months expenses in a separate bank account just in case something happens. Because we all know those who move into those houses right away, as soon as you move in, you sign the paper, something breaks down. Yeah, you have the mortgage covered, but you didn't have that part covered where you're like, oh, I didn't know anything was going to happen. I thought everything was going to be smooth in this house. Because remember, when you buy your own house, it's not like you can call the landlord up and say, hey, we got this problem here, can you come fix it? So make sure you're debt-free. Make sure you have 6 months expenses so when that water heater breaks down, you're taken care of. If anything happens, you're good. And make sure when you get ready to purchase a house, you have at least 20% down. Now some of you guys will say, 20% down is going to take forever. No, what's going to take forever is you paying off your mortgage if you don't put 20% down. Because I'm going to tell you why you want to put 20% down. When you get a home, right, your goal should be, after you've already tackled all your other debt, your goal should be, I want to pay this house off as soon as possible. The reason why you want that thought is because you want to free yourself from a mortgage, and you want to start putting that money that you were putting toward that mortgage to build wealth. Then you're on the fast track at that point. Right? Like I said, it's a strange thing of how I'm in one of the most poorest countries I was saying in Central America, and nope, 85% of the people don't have a mortgage. And the reason why they don't have a mortgage is for this reason. Like you would see some people that have an old house, and right next to that house they have stones. that they take their paycheck and they buy, say, okay, I can afford to buy 5 stones per paycheck. And then when they build their stones up to a certain level, they go out and hire a contractor and they have them put the stones together and they have a house. That's how a lot of people build their homes. Or some people just save, you know? But there should be a creative system like that in the U.S. because this is where we went wrong. We went wrong with our debt when it came to a house. The houses actually started a lot of this because we have this burning desire to have this house. No, there's nothing wrong with having a house, but just make sure that when you get in a house that you can afford what you get into. Because here we go with this behavior again. When I get a house, I have to have a big house so I can throw parties in my house and people can come over and tell me how great of a house I have. See, that type of thinking also, again, can drive you to spend more money. It can drive you to sign your name on a dotted line of a house that you really can't afford. Because a lot of times, once people get these homes and they haven't taken steps to get out of debt, have an emergency fund, they end up have to take, you know, maybe an extra job or some more shifts just to keep this house, keep money going toward this house to impress your friends. So this is my advice, guys. Let's just take some steps back. Let's watch the car. Let's get rid of the car notes so we can have extra money to spend. And let's watch the house. Let's make sure that, look, yeah, I have a dream to have a house. I don't have a house yet. But I want to make sure all my steps are in place to get one. Because those same friends who say, oh my gosh, you need to get your house, whatever, they can't do the things that I do. They can't just up and just leave their job and go somewhere for 4 months, you know? But even if I did have a house, I would still be able to do this because I would make sure that when I got into the house, I got into it the right way. So that's just my advice, guys. Let's just take some baby steps. Let's change our way of thinking. And these 2 things that I talk about, the car and the house, can save a lot of money and put a lot of money in our pocket, keep a lot of money in our pocket if we handle this the right way. So my advice, let me hear your questions, your comments. Subscribe to the channel. And also, I'll be coming up with a personal channel where I talk about other issues in life that are not necessarily financial related. Give you a chance to get to know me a little more. And there, I think I can really, really be myself because I have a lot of ideas and things out there that I want to talk about. So, that's it, guys. Until next time, signing off.